At Mark and Jenna's backyard cookout, my wife leaned against the patio counter, glass in hand, and said, loud enough for the deck to hear, "I manage the big decisions at home. He's great with trash day and finding the remote." Heads turned. Laughs bubbled. She looked right through me like she'd just read a clever line off a napkin. I set my plate down. "Cute," I told her. "Here's the big decision for tonight. Respect is not optional. Try me." She blinked as if a fly crossed her view. "Relax. It's a joke." Mark's tongues paused midair. Jenna stared at the salad. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. The air already did it for me. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have driven home without finishing my burger. We left early. In the car, she watched the neighborhood slide by and smirked at the window. "At what point," I asked once we were in our kitchen, "did you decide talking down to me in public is entertainment?" "Stop being dramatic," she answered, toeing off her sandals. "Everybody jokes." "I'm not everybody," I said, "and we're not everybody's marriage." She opened the fridge, clinked a bottle against the counter, then didn't open it. "If you can't take a joke, maybe the problem is your ego." "That word's tired," I replied. "Let's keep it simple. Equal partnership. If you need the spotlight, join a community theater. If you need to feel above me, we have a bigger problem." She laughed once, flat. "You're really doing this because of a line at a barbecue?" "Because it wasn't the first line," I said. "You've been treating me like a punchline for months. I'm drawing a line back." "Fine, draw lines. Do you want me to apologize in group chat?" "Sorry, my husband's feelings got a boo-boo." I leaned on the counter. "Here's what's changing. I'm done with the couples brunch circuit. No more those Saturdays where your friends rate husbands like they're picking fruit. I won't be there to feed jokes. I'll split chores and bills down the middle, documented. No, you should just know lists in my head with silent penalties. And if you decide to make little scenes at other people's houses again, I'll fix it right there, not in the car." She folded her arms. "You're making rules now?" "Boundaries," I said. "They're like rules, but for adults." She rolled her eyes and headed down the hall. "You know what, Nate? Let's not talk when you're touchy." "Noted," I said. "One more thing, calendar access. If you have a late night, name it ahead of time, not afterward. I don't report to you." "No," I said, opening my laptop. "You inform a partner. There's a difference." She waved a hand and disappeared into the bedroom. The door didn't slam. It didn't have to. The silence found its echo. Next week, the distance grew legs. She started going for a drive after dinner. "It's just Pilates," she tossed over her shoulder one night, grabbing keys. Another time it was, "Wine with the girls, don't wait up." Another, late shift at the nonprofit, which was news to me because I'd never heard of an after-hours charity that required perfume and heels. I adjusted instead of chasing. I set a separate checking account for shared expenses, mortgage, utilities, basics, funded it exactly. I moved my gym time to 6 a.m., stopped making dinner for 2 on weeknights, stopped inviting her places that required RSVP. We operated like neighbors with an awkward lease. When I did ask for clarity, I got the same answer, a shrug with different shoes. On a Thursday, she came in after midnight and dropped her bag by the door. "Hey," I said, not looking up from the spreadsheet on my screen. "Schedule says late. Define late next time. I don't sit around, but I also don't like guessing which driveway you're in." She kicked the bag closer to the wall. "You really have a calendar for wife might be busy." "I have a calendar for my life," I said. "You want to be on it, pick a color." "Wow," she snorted, so masculine. "Spreadsheets. Control is masculine now? Interesting upgrade," I answered. "I call it stewardship." She lifted an eyebrow. "You feel small, so you make boxes." "I feel clear, so I build rails," I said. "Speaking of rails, this Saturday's brunch at Tessa's? I'm out." "She'll ask why. Tell her I'm busy respecting myself." She tilted her head like she heard a song I couldn't. "You want to know why the girls laugh? Because you're so proper. Because I don't sit quiet while you drag me," I said. "We'll see how funny it is when the audience changes." She grabbed a glass. Water ran. That was the end of it. Or I thought it was. Friday she stayed out late again. Saturday too. Sunday she breezed through the kitchen humming while I changed the air filter in the hallway. "You didn't come to brunch," she said, as if I needed a recap. "You didn't ask how it went," I replied. "I didn't need to," I told her, tightening the cover. "I know those games." She leaned on the doorway. "You know nothing about them." Then enlighten me, I said. She smiled without warmth and went upstairs. Enlightenment would come from somewhere else. Monday at work, I told my friend Victor, 50, divorced, a man who learned the hard way, to grab a coffee. We sat on the curb outside the shop, lids off, steam rising. So she's playing queen, he said, scraping his boot on the concrete. You know there's a market for that. Some folks collect crowns. I'm not in that market, I said. Then by information, he shrugged. You can't debate fog. Look, I got a guy. Retired cop doing private work. Discreet. He doesn't deliver gossip. He delivers a folder. I'm not trying to be a spy, I said. You're trying to be sane, Victor replied. Sanity likes facts. You set boundaries. She escalated. Find out what you're actually dealing with before you choose your exit. I took the number. That night, after my no brunch rule and the budget split settled like furniture, she walked in at 7 with a paper bag from the corner diner. She put it on the counter. I got your favorite salad. Thoughtful, I said, watching her. What's the occasion? Occasion is I heard you, she said, opening containers. I can be snarky. I was tired that party. I'm sorry. Accepted, I said. Behavior matters more. I know, she said. So dinner. And next weekend we could drive up to the lake. No phones. We can discuss later, I replied. I've got a long morning tomorrow. You're really going to make this transactional? She pressed. I'm going to make this consistent, I said. Appreciate the salad. She set a fork by my hand, touched my shoulder, a quick press that looked practiced, and smiled like I'd finally come to my senses. It felt like a cool hand over a fever. Smart. Timed. I ate the salad and slept fine anyway. Tuesday, I met the investigator in a quiet office over a hardware store. Gray desk, no photos. He took notes, asked simple questions about time frames and names, then slid his card across. 3 to 5 days, he said. I only come back with what I can prove. If there's nothing, there's nothing. If there's something, I said, bring me daylight. I didn't tell anyone except Victor. I didn't tell my wife I'd hired anyone. I didn't need to. I just vaulted over guessing and landed on waiting. Meanwhile, the distance at home found new muscles. She started speaking to me through silence. If I asked if she wanted to watch something together, I got, I'm reading. If I asked about her day, busy, you wouldn't get it. If I mentioned the budget, you're obsessed with petty rules. If I fixed something in the house, congratulations, you're handy. Each line had the same flavor. You below, me above. I countered with map changes. I canceled the upcoming couples game night and sent a polite note in the group text, scheduling conflict. You'll see us when you see us. I stopped standing behind her while she crafted her stories in front of others. If she wanted to perform, she could perform without my staging. 2 days later, I got the call. Come by, the investigator said. It's not gossip. His folder was thicker than I wanted. He laid photos across the desk like playing cards. Dates, locations, timelines. The first shot hit like a bat to a metal sign. Everything rang afterward. There was my wife, midweek, at the bar across town, sitting way too close with Tessa's husband, Mark, hand on his arm, faces angled in private talk. Another afternoon, different place, different man, Jenna's husband, Kyle, walking with her to the back lot. Another night, a booth at a restaurant with Lauren's husband, Darren, laughing too warm for colleagues, fingers intertwined under the table when they thought the booth shielded them. The days lined up like a schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, different husband, different setting, same pattern. You sure all these dates line up with the girls' nights? The investigator asked, tapping the timestamps. I swallowed. They do. He slid me a flash drive. Everything's duplicated here. Do you want to talk through it? No, I said. I want to walk out of this office. I sat in my truck and stared at the steering wheel until the air felt neutral again. Then I called Victor. Bring it to the guys, he said. Don't carry it alone. That night we met in his detached garage behind his house. He keeps a pool table there and a coffee machine stronger than courage. 2 other friends came. Ben, accountant, married 20 years, and Luis, contractor, newly remarried after a rough first ride. I laid the folder on the table without speeches. I didn't narrate. I let grown men learn. Man, Ben muttered, flipping a page. That's a pattern. Luis exhaled through his nose. She hit every friend group like it was a to-do list. Victor looked at me, not the paper. You good? I'm clear, I said. I'm not living with her another night. Where are you going? Ben asked. To an attorney first, I said, then to someplace quiet. In the morning, I booked a consult with a guy Victor knew, calm voice, unwrinkled suit, eyes that didn't chase drama. He scanned the folder, nodded once, and stacked everything. Don't confront her yet, he said. Give me everything you have. We'll draft. While we draft, distance yourself. If you can find a believable reason to be elsewhere for a couple of weeks, do that. It's clean. Don't put your emotions on her plate to play with. Put papers on the table when you're ready. I don't want her living in my house while I'm gone, I said. You can secure the essentials, he answered. Change account passwords. Move sensitive items. Leave the day-to-day. Come back when this is ready. You'll have leverage without a scene. So I lie. I asked. You provide a cover story, he said. It protects you from fireworks you don't need, and it protects the work we're doing. A short work trip is fine. 2 weeks, maximum 3. I'll call when it's set. I handed him the flash drive, the folder, everything. I walked out lighter by a pound of paper and heavier by a pound of clarity. That night, I packed a duffel bag with just clothes and a shaving kit. I rented a small place across town, a one-story with a squeaky screen door and a view of a maple tree. I left a note on the kitchen counter at home. Short assignment. 2 to 3 weeks. I'll check in. I scheduled mail to hold, set camera alerts on the house, and closed the door without turning back. At the rental, I made myself decent coffee, put music on low, and called my friends. Boys' night, I said. Cards, takeout, nothing stupid. They came. I told them the rest. There were no speeches. Just hands on my shoulder, knuckles on the table, 2 jokes to cut heavy air. Men don't solve everything. Sometimes we just carry corners of the same table. I lived like a monk with a grill. I worked earlier, lifted heavier, slept deeply. The first weekend, I drove an hour to hike a ridge by the reservoir and came back with dirt on my boots and no weight on my chest. I wasn't celebrating. I was breathing. She texted 3 times the first week. Where are you exactly? Everything okay? You left fast. Dinner when you get back? I'll make pasta. I replied once. Travel is fine. Talk later. Midway through the second week, she called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was soft, unusually so. I'm thinking about you. Maybe we got off track. I've been reading old messages. You're a good man, Nate. Come home. Let's reset. It would have worked on a different version of me. The guy who still believed tone meant truth. I saved the message and went to the gym. 2 days later, the attorney called. Everything's ready, he said. Come in. I read what needed reading, signed where I needed to sign, and left with a neat envelope. I texted my wife from the parking lot. Heading home later today. See you tonight. Good. She replied immediately. We should talk. Sure, I said. Let's talk. I stopped by Victor's garage for 15 minutes. He handed me a small box. What's that? I asked. Spare set of nerve, he grinned. It's beef jerky. Eat instead of speaking when the room gets loud. I drove home as the sun slid behind the houses. When I opened the front door, the kitchen lights were on. My wife sat at the table with 3 of her friends, Tessa, Jenna, and Lauren. Their wine glasses were full, their faces arranged like a panel discussion. My chair at the head of the table had been pushed to the side and replaced by another. I stood in the doorway and counted them like chess pieces. Wow, I said, hanging my keys on the hook. A quorum. Tessa smirked, folding her hands. We thought it would be helpful. For whom? I asked. For you, Jenna chimed in. Support. Lauren smiled the way a cat does at a bird feeder. My wife didn't smile. She sat too straight, eyes bright with certainty. Let's just do this, she said to me. We all talked. This isn't working. You're controlling, you make everything a spreadsheet, and you don't know how to be a partner. I'm done. We're going to separate, and I'm taking the house and the savings. You can keep your truck. I pulled out a chair and sat without taking off my jacket. Generous, I said. Are there certificates for that authority, or do you just print your own? Tessa chuckled. You should be grateful she's being civil. Jenna tilted her glass at me. You can't manage a wife like a project. Lauren looked at my wife. Just be firm. He caves when you sound confident. I set my envelope on the table and didn't touch it. I've always admired your coordination, I said. It's like a little city council, except the city forgot to vote. My wife leaned forward. It's decided. By all means, I said. Quick question before I sign my gratitude. Any of you bothered by your husband's calendars lately? The room hiccuped. Tessa frowned. What does that mean? Meaning, I said, meeting each pair of eyes. You're all remarkably comfortable spending evenings here, giving away my property. I'm curious how comfortable you'll be when I ask a simpler thing. Are you okay with her weekly schedule that includes private outings with your husbands? It landed the way thunder lands. Tessa's what? Wasn't a question, it was a defense. Jenna's glass stopped midair. Lauren's smile vanished like it was never scripted. Don't do this, my wife said, voice clipped. Do what? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Hold a mirror? You're making things up, Jenna snapped. No, I answered, sliding the first photo across the table to Tessa. Her husband with my wife, two backs leaning together at a bar, time-stamped. He is. Tessa's hand hovered over the picture, then retreated like it might burn. That's when was this? Wednesday night you told us you were at yoga, I said softly. He was at overtime. Turns out both workouts were impressive. Jenna shot upright. Give me that. Yours is Thursday, I said, placing the next photo near her. Different place. Same posture. No yoga mat required. Lauren held a hand out that shook more than she wanted. Let me see. I laid the third one down and didn't look away. The room tightened like a drum. My wife stared at me as if she could will me into silence. I'd been silent for weeks. I was fresh out. You staged this, she managed. Staging is your department, I said, tapping the neat rows of glasses and the chair they'd assigned me. I flipped the envelope open and slid my own papers onto the table. Here's my answer to your we decided. I decided months ago and kept it tidy. I'm not negotiating my life in front of your fan club. Tessa rounded on her. Is this true? You've been meeting Mark. You're being ridiculous. My wife shot back, too fast. Is it true? Jenna's voice had that thin edge when a person runs a finger along a knife and expects not to bleed. Lauren pushed her chair back. You sat in my house last week and told me Darren was distant. You were. She stopped short of a word and looked at me instead, as if I'd poured cold water on her head and she'd just now woken up. The kitchen filled with overlapping voices. Answer. You lied. How long? He knew. You set this. Unbelievable. Our husbands. I leaned back and picked a piece of beef jerky from Victor's box. The salty chew gave my jaw something to do besides clench. I watched the structure collapse under its own weight. A good plan, poorly stress-tested. While they argued, I stood. I walked down the hall, pulled a set of suitcases from the guest closet, and put them on the bed. I started filling them with her clothes. No drama. Hangers, folded shirts, the blue blazer she wore when she wanted to look thoughtful, the black dress she wore when she wanted attention. I took her extra set of keys off the hook, set them next to the suitcase, and kept packing. From the kitchen, a crash of a glass, a hissed insult, the thud of a chair leg kicking out of place. Tessa's voice. I'm going home. Jenna. Me too. Lauren. Quieter. I need to talk to Darren. The front door opened and shut more than once. Silence was slow to return. When it did, it wasn't friendly. My wife stepped into the doorway of our bedroom and watched me zip the second case. You're throwing me out, she said flat. I'm ending cohabitation with a person who used our home as a staging ground. I answered, not turning. Call it what you want. You can't do this. This is my house too. I turned then and nodded at the envelope on the bed. It was. You'll find a document on the table that makes the next steps clear. I've already filed. You keep your personal things. I keep the house, the accounts that were mine before, and the schedule I live by now. It's clean. It's fair. It's not up for debate. She moved to the suitcase and pressed her hand on it like she could push time backward. You set me up, she tried again, softer, using a tone that had worked on me 100 smaller times. I set boundaries, I said. You tested whether they were real. They are. I can explain. Save it. I replied, picking up the smaller case and rolling it to the door. You've already explained. For weeks. She followed me down the hall. You'll regret this. You'll end up alone. You're not built for it. I'm built for peace, I said. It fits better than you think. In the kitchen, I gathered the remaining papers, slid them into a neat stack, and placed her keys on top. Give me till morning, she said, voice small now. I need to call someone. You had a crowd tonight, I said. They can help you lift the luggage. She wrapped her arms around herself. Where am I supposed to go? Back to your council, I said. Or use your network. You know a lot of people's schedules. She didn't answer. She sat at the table, the one she'd turned into a bench for my sentencing, and looked at the photos like they'd appeared out of a fog she didn't expect to clear. I rolled the suitcases to the door and opened it. Night air cut through the hallway. The porch light made the path simple. I came back and waited. She didn't move. I'm not carrying you, I told her. If you need a moment, take it. You can text me a forwarding address. Don't text me anything else. She closed her eyes for a long second, then stood. She picked up the handle of the first suitcase, then the second. She walked to the door, paused, and turned. You're really done, she said. Yes, I answered. We ran out of respect a while back. The rest of the pantry emptied tonight. Her jaw worked like she was choosing between a dozen lines and like none. She rolled the bags out onto the porch. I followed, picked up the keys from the table, and held out my hand. She placed her ring of keys in it without meeting my eyes. Close the door, I said. I locked both deadbolts and set her keys in a drawer with the batteries and takeout menus, the only place they fit now. Then I did what men do when the storm passes. I cleaned. I picked up the broken glass, wiped the counter, threw out the wilted salad she'd brought 2 weeks ago that I never ate. I took a shower, put on a t-shirt, and lay down across the bed like it was a guest room I finally earned. In the morning, I changed the security code and left a set for the attorney. I texted her once. Your boxes are by the garage. I'll be out from 10 to noon. Pick up then. I didn't wait to see if she replied. I didn't need more words. We were past words. That afternoon, Victor stopped by with a sack of sandwiches. We ate on the tailgate. You look 10 pounds lighter, he said. I am, I told him. She left with at least that in fabric. You good, he asked. Better than good, I said. I'm steady. Been called. We stand by you, he said. If any of those guys want to talk, we'll talk. Luis texted a single line. Proud of how you handled it. I don't need praise. I needed respect. Both arrived, one honest, one earned. The process after that was quick. Paperwork came back exactly as planned. My wife didn't contest it. Maybe she was busy with fires in other houses. Maybe she just recognized the new version of me didn't negotiate with fog. I kept the house. I kept my savings. I kept the schedule that let me sleep. 2 months later, my life looked simple, clean. I replaced the couch we bought together with a plain gray one I liked. I built a heavy workbench in the garage and filled it with sturdy tools. On Fridays, I hosted the guys. No announcements, no performance, just cards and cheap snacks. When I didn't have company, I took my truck out to the lake and sat with a thermos. I didn't post about it. I didn't need anyone to clap. I ran into Jenna at the hardware store once. She looked older than a season should make a person. How are you? She asked, standing near the nails. Better than I was, I said. She nodded at a shelf so she didn't have to look at me. We broke. It wasn't pretty. Sorry you're going through it, I said, meaning it. Did you plan that night? She asked. I planned to tell the truth in front of the right audience, I said. The rest sorted itself. We thought you'd plead, she said. That was the point, I told her. You were counting on it. I paid for my bolts and left without looking back. I'm not cruel. I'm done. I keep the place quiet now. There's a stack of books on the coffee table I actually read. My sister drops her kids by sometimes. We shoot hoops in the driveway. My boss offered me a lead role on a project that needs a steady hand more than late nights. I took it. I drive to see my father on Sundays and help him winterize his porch. He doesn't ask about her. He watches me tighten a hinge and nods as if this is what growth sounds like. People ask if I'm dating. I say not yet. I'm not avoiding it. I'm not auditioning either. I like my chair where it is, my bed untroubled, my phone quiet. I like the feeling of not being managed by someone else's need to stand taller. Sometimes, alone late, I think back to that first cookout joke. How small it was and how big it became. If there's a lesson I'd hand any man over a beer, it's this. You can love someone and still walk away when respect walks out first. You can draw a boundary without a parade. You can let your actions write the ending and trust the ending to be enough. The last time she texted, it was months later. I'm picking up the last box, she wrote. Thanks. I didn't reply. She came while I was at work, sent a photo of the empty corner. That photo was the most honest thing between us in a year. I saved it. Not to remember her. To remember me. The man who stopped begging for basic dignity and set his life to the right height. There's no trophy for that. You just get your home back. You get your peace back. You get to be the person you respect. When I close the door at night now, it's just a door. Not a stage, not a courtroom. I turn the lock, put the keys on my own hook, and let quiet sit beside me. I don't miss the noise. I don't miss the panel. I don't miss the crown someone else needed to wear. I'm good. If I ever end up at a backyard cookout again, and someone tries to make me the punchline, I won't wait for the car ride home. I'll do what I did the last time, only sooner. Raise an eyebrow, move my chair, and make a decision. Not because I crave control, because I respect the man carrying my name, and I intend to keep him.